I don't know about you, but after that worship, I'm very prepared for the Word. This morning, I want to just get you guys a little rowdy this morning. One of the things that I don't think we do enough is really talk about all the wonderful things that we do as a church body and give recognition. And so we do so much. We have Sunday school. We have our Wednesday night programs. We feed people for free. We get out in the community and do service. I want you guys to just go ahead and give yourselves a round of applause. And now, if you're excited for that, I want you to show me how excited you are for the Word of God, okay? Who's excited this morning for God's Word? Well, I hope I'm not going to disappoint you. You know, sometimes we miss it. Sometimes we think we know what's going on, but sometimes we miss it. I want to tell you a story. I couldn't have been more than 18 years old. And one of my friends, she was having a baby shower, and she invited me to come. And I said, wait a second, don't only, mostly, guys don't go to those, right? And she said, oh no, well now more and more nowadays guys are coming. You won't be the only guy there, you should come. And so I said, okay, I'll come. Well, guess what? I was the only guy there. And I get there, and all these ladies are talking about, how was your first trimester, right? I was sick, or did you get those special stretchy pants that'll kind of keep you all put in place? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm wearing them right now. But no, sometimes we feel like a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. Maybe you've been in those situations. Maybe you've been around. Maybe you're not a sports fan, and you've been around a lot of people who are talking sports, and you think that the hockey goalie is going to get a touchdown this Saturday. Or maybe you're one of those people who's not really into cars, and you're the kind of person who goes up to AutoZone and asks for headlight fluid. There's a lot of places that we can kind of feel out of our depth, feel like we're not getting it. We've missed it. Sometimes we feel that way in life. Sometimes when it comes to what God is doing and what we know that the Scriptures have promised us about God and His plans for us, we feel like we catch a glimpse of it, but we haven't quite gotten it. We haven't quite embraced what God has called us to do. We have missed our blessing. This morning, the title of my message is Don't Miss Your Blessing. Ruth and Naomi were kind of in one of those situations. They didn't quite fit. Ruth was a Moabite woman, a foreigner who had no one to take care of her. Her husband had died. Naomi was a widow, and again, out of place, on the margins of society. They didn't feel like they belonged there. In chapter 3, our text picks up. It says, Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, this is Ruth, Naomi said to Ruth, My daughter, should I not seek rest for you that it may be well with you? Sometimes we miss our blessing. Sometimes we miss our blessing because we're too focused on trying to find our own blessing. You see, Naomi comes up to Ruth and says, Is it not good for me to seek your rest? We live in a world that says, put yourself first. We live in a world that says, you need to look out for number one, numero uno. And if you start trying to worry about everybody else's problem, you're just going to make yourself miserable. Why would you do that to yourself? Naomi, because she is a woman of God, because she wants what's best for her, she says, is it not right that I should seek your rest? My challenge for you this morning is it not right for you to seek the rest of your neighbor? That's one of the things we're doing on Be the Church, right? We're going out, we're trying to find some place that we can be a source of peace and rest for the people around us. Is it not right for you to seek the rest of your neighbor? And the crazy part about that is the blessing of God is sometimes wrapped up in seeking the good of someone else. And in fact, I wouldn't just say sometimes. I would say always. There is a blessing of God waiting for you in using your time, your life, your money, your energy for the sake of somebody else. And so sometimes we miss our blessing because we're too focused on finding our own blessing to seek the blessing of others. And so she says, is it not good that I might seek rest for you? See, her hope is that Ruth will find a husband. Ruth will find someone to take care of her because she's tired of seeing Ruth pick up the scraps of blessing left behind by Boaz's harvesters. And so she's wanting something more for her. Verse 2, is not Boaz our relative, with whose young women you were? See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash, therefore, and anoint yourself, and put on your cloak, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do. And she replied, all that you say I will do. And so Naomi is really kind of scheming here because she wants to have Ruth taken care of. And so she says, all right, Boaz is our relative, and so we talked a little bit about this the previous weeks. One of the things that relatives could do is they could redeem a widow. A widow was not allowed to own property. She was not allowed to, so she was essentially a homeless beggar. And so Ruth is a widow, and so one of the things that you could do is you could have your husband's next of kin provide you an heir, marry you, and get you on your feet. But apparently whoever was responsible for doing that for Ruth, the closest one, is not doing it. And so they say, well, Boaz is a relative, Naomi says, so we're gonna speed things along here, and speed things along she does, okay? I debated on how to put this in a PG setting, and I'm just going to do my best, okay? So if you need to cover your children's ears and say la 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 la, that's okay. I won't judge you. But so what she does is she says, all right, Ruth, he is on the threshing floor tonight, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to dress up. You're going to anoint yourself. That is the equivalent of breaking out the good makeup. She anoints herself, washes herself, puts on her cloak, and the cloak is not just like her normal clothes. In fact, what she would have been wearing up until this point is clothes of mourning for her husband. And so what he's saying is, take off your clothes of mourning and act like you're ready for another husband. And so she puts on the good stuff, puts on her war paint. And she goes out, she goes to the threshing floor, and this is what Naomi's telling her to do. And it says, to uncover his feet. Now, that phrase in Hebrew is used in ancient Hebrew to refer to a lot of things. But one of the things that, I'll give you an example. To uncover your feet in other ancient Hebrew manuscripts is also used as a substitute to go to the bathroom. Okay? So she's uncovering a little more than his feet. If you only uncover your feet to go to the bathroom, we're going to have a conversation. And so what Naomi is telling her to do is to position herself as a wife. To position herself for the blessing that she desires. One of the reasons I think that we miss our blessing is we don't position ourselves for the blessing that we desire. They tell you all the time, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So many of us are so content with our lives. We don't want to take any risk that we're not going to mold our lives to prepare ourselves for what God has in store. Sometimes we miss our blessing because we, unlike Ruth, we don't have any skin in the game. We're not willing to put ourselves at risk for what God is doing. Because the truth of the matter is, if she does all this, she goes to Boaz, she does this kind of scandalous thing, she positions herself as a wife. If he rejects her, she's in trouble. She's not just going to be, she will find herself much like the woman caught in adultery in John chapter 8. Okay? This is a risky move for her if she is rejected. And yet Naomi says, you go. You put yourself in his hands, because she has trust in the character of Boaz. She has trust that he is a man of God. In the same way, we need to be willing to have skin in the game when it comes to God. Not because it's not scary, it is. Not because we have nothing to lose, because we do, but because we trust in who God is and what he can do with us. And so sometimes we miss our blessing because we're not willing to put ourselves all in. We're not willing to put skin in the game. Verse 6. So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law had commanded her. And when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was merry, which is the ancient Hebrew way of saying had one too many, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then she came softly and uncovered his feet and lied down. And behold, at midnight, the man was startled and turned over. Behold, a woman lay at his feet. He said, "Who are you?" She answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." And he said, may you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether rich or poor. And so she takes the risk. She puts herself out there. She puts everything that she is in the hands of Boaz, and saying, if you don't take me, I'm a dead woman. And he wakes up. I can only imagine the surprise. He wakes up, and I love the way the text puts it. He was startled, and behold, a woman. That's what the text says. And he says, "Who are you?" I mean, understandably. And she identifies herself, and she says, "Spread your wings over me." So she wants to be protected. That's what she's saying. She said, "I've come to you because I have been thrown out to the wolves. I am barely scraping it by. I'm barely holding it together. And I know that you can bring me through. I know that you can protect me." That's us, guys. That's how we're supposed to come to God. Because when we're not with him, when we're making it day to day without trying to pursue the things of God and put our trust in him, all we're doing is picking up scraps. All we're doing is living without a home. If we want to feel at home, if we want to feel like we haven't missed it, if we want to reap the blessings of God, not just material blessings, but spiritual blessings, not just the blessings that we always see as these wonderful things, but even opportunities to serve. If we want to receive these blessings, we need to come to God all in and ask him to put his wings over us. Now, the thing is, sometimes we miss it. When Boaz says, he says, "Blessed are you, this kindness is great because you didn't go after younger men, whether rich or poor." He says, "You could have gone after all these other things, but you've come to me." Sometimes we miss the blessings of God because we're too busy chasing after other things. Sometimes we miss that opportunity to serve because we're too busy chasing after our own leisure. We're too busy chasing that paper. We're too busy doing so many other things that we don't have the time. Sometimes we miss the blessing of God because we're chasing after something else. And not only that, but sometimes the things that we're chasing condition us to keep chasing them. And the big things that we have are worth chasing. I'll confess to you this morning, I will never run a marathon. I like cake and not running way too much to run a marathon. When we really want something, it requires sacrifice. We have to chase after it. We have to let go of the things that are holding us back and chase. That's what Ruth has done. She's let go of every shred of dignity, every shred of... She has pursued Boaz with reckless abandon. And God calls us to pursue him in the same way. Verse 11. And so Boaz continues. He says, "Now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask, for all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman. And now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I. Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until the morning." And so she lay at his feet until morning, but arose before one could recognize another, and he said, "Let it not be known that the woman came to the threshing floor." And he said, "Bring the garment that you are wearing and hold it out." So she held it and measured 6 measures of barley and put it on her. And then she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, "How did you fare, my daughter?" Then she told her all that the man had done for her, saying, "These 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said, you must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law." And so she does what Naomi said. Naomi's plan works. And notice what Boaz does. He says, "I will redeem you. I'll do what you asked of me." Ruth had come from a really shameful place. If you remember, the whole reason that she's been brought into the people of God is because somebody disobeyed the law of God. Somebody married this Moabite woman. She had no business being here. Not only that, she's come from a shameful place as a widow. That's not an honorable position. And not only that, she's done this really kind of brazen, shameful thing to get Boaz's attention. And sometimes we're in a place of shame and despair that's so deep, we miss the blessing of God because we can no longer see the possibility of redemption. We think God can't do anything with me. When it comes to God's plans, I am a square peg and God is a round hole. There is no place for somebody like me there. The story of Ruth says, no. If there is a place in the people of God for a Moabite widow, there is a place in the people of God for you. And so whatever shame you're struggling with, whether it's addiction, whether it's the shame of a past, whether it's the shame of not being the mother or father you should have been, not being the son or daughter you wish you'd been, maybe not being the friend, not being there for somebody you should have been there for. There's so many things that we can get knotted up with when it comes to shame. But what I'm telling you here is nobody is beyond redemption if Ruth is not beyond redemption. And so my challenge for you this morning is don't miss it. Because sometimes we miss it because we don't believe anymore in the possibility of our redemption. But what we find here is that redemption is found at the feet of God. Redemption is found when we pursue God with reckless abandon, put everything that we hope and hold and are in God's hands and say, God, I can't do it. I can't make it on my own. But with you, all things are possible. Like I said, if Boaz rejects her, then she will end up much like that woman caught in adultery in John chapter 8. But you remember what happens to that woman caught in adultery in John chapter 8? They're all wanting to stone her. And Jesus sends them all away. And this woman who's been thrown at the feet of Jesus, who is at his mercy, he says, is there anyone left to condemn you? She says, no one. And he says, neither do I condemn you. Redemption is found at the feet of Jesus. Redemption is found when we throw ourselves at the feet of the cross. And we find that here in Ruth, because it is by her reckless pursuit of Boaz, by her reckless pursuit of being within God's people, that the people of God are blessed forever. Chapter 4, verse 18, it says this. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez fathered Hezron. Hezron fathered Ram. Ram fathered Amminadab. Amminadab fathered Nahshon. Nahshon fathered Salon. Salon fathered Boaz. Boaz fathered Obed. Obed fathered Jesse. Jesse fathered David. And so the greatest king that Israel ever saw came from a woman who put herself in the hands of a godly man, who refused to miss the blessing that God had called her to. But more than that, her pursuit didn't just bring Israel David, but we know through Matthew's genealogy, the line doesn't stop at David. It continues down to our Savior. Redemption is found through the reckless pursuit of God. Redemption is found at the feet of the cross. I think, unfortunately, we miss our blessing primarily. I think the biggest reason we miss our blessing is because it is found in following Christ. But not just following Christ, but following Christ to Calvary. Luke says it this way. Anybody who wants to follow me, Jesus says in Luke, anybody who wants to follow me needs to pick up his cross daily and follow me. Because this blessing is not found in living a life for ourselves. This blessing is found at the feet of the cross, just like Ruth found blessing at the feet of Boaz. Not because she held things back for herself, not because she refused to be put in a risky situation, but because she gave everything and she put everything at risk, and she fell down at his feet. This morning, I want to tell you, shame is turned to glory at the feet of Jesus. Shame is wiped away at the feet of Jesus. And so the question is for us, are we going to miss it or not? Maybe this morning you've committed your life. You've gone all in. You've been washed head to toe. Maybe you haven't done that. Maybe you need to make that commitment. The church is here. Whatever needs you have, now is the time. The Spirit and the bride say, come. I want to do something different this morning. I end with this statement a lot, but I want us to all be in on it. So I'm going to say this, the Spirit and the bride say come, and then when I say let the one who hears, I want to know if you hear. And so you say come as well. Let's do that. You guys ready with me? The Spirit and the bride say come. Let the one who hears say let come the one who wants to have the free gift of the water of life. If you have any need, would you come now as we stand and as we sing?